does Notre Dame's defense do especially well? Like, what concerns you the most about them?
Well, they are coached very, very well. Do a great job of mixing up the different styles of defense that they play, and they have a new defense coordinator. So certainly Marcus has his fingerprints all over the defense. But now that you have Al Golden there, it's a little bit of a different staff. So I think probably just a little bit of the unknown going into the game.
If CJ needed to go out of the game for whatever reason, would Kyle be the one to come in at quarterback for you guys?
Yeah, in the first game he would. Yep.
We'll go front row right, Austin Ward.
From nowhere. All right, cool. Ryan, between Travion and Mayan, do you have a preference for how you'd like, or an idea of how you want to handle the rotation with those two at this point?
Yeah, we're going to see how the game goes, but they're both going to play, and they both had very good camps, and we're going to need them both in this game. They I think have really done a great job in all three areas. They've done a good job in running the football, and they've done a good job in the pass game, and done a good job in protection. So. All three of those guys could get in the game. Dallin might even get into the game, but we'll start with Trey, and Mayan will be in there real quick.
Where do you see the biggest improvement or difference from Travion from this time a year ago to now?
I think when you come in as a freshman, everything's just moving so fast. It's just having a little bit more experience now and going through things, and again, everything you're doing isn't for the first time. There's a lot to be said for that. So I think just overall the banked reps in his mind.
That would be Rivals 97.1. Austin.
Thank you.
See you, Jer.
Let's go third row left. Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, Sergeant Stringer was saying yesterday that he thinks a big key of this game is going to be stopping the run and being able to run the ball. Do you have a similar approach?
Yeah, same thing. And that's really where we all start is stopping the run. And they do a good job running the football, so we're going to have to do a great job of being assignment sound and playing with great fundamentals and doing a great job on third down and get off the field. But the same thing on offense, you have to establish the run. It's very, very important, and something we've been working very hard on.
Obviously, those were things that didn't go your way in the games that didn't go well last year. How much of a point of emphasis has that been in game planning for this game of making sure stop the run are big?
It's a point of emphasis for every game that we play, though. We have spent a lot of time on it, but not any more time than we have in the past. I mean, that's where the games are won and lost, is up front. So, but have certainly spent a lot of time on that.
Right in front of him, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, obviously you're trying to prepare for a game, but there's obviously going to be a lot of recruits walking around here, maybe more than you've had pretty much in your career here. Is there any extra message you have for those guys, and maybe how do you handle that while also trying to focus on top 5 matchup?
Yeah, we've had conversations leading up to this game about a lot of our recruits coming to this game, and it's been exciting for them, and we are going to have a big number here. And I think most of the conversation leading up to the game has been had, the recruiting's been had. Now it's time to go play the game and just allow them the opportunity to see what an atmosphere at Ohio State's like, playing in Ohio Stadium, top 10 matchup, ESPN game, just the whole atmosphere, and just take it all in and then picture themselves being on that field. And I think a lot of guys are really excited. We got people flying in from all over the country here to be part of this game, so happy that they're going to be with us for this one.
CJ and Jackson specifically, that relationship, since they've gotten here, how have you seen those two kind of grow?
Well, I think it started in high school, and then it went on to when they were, in the scout team together. But they were together on a couple of these rivals camps, and they knew each other when they were in the recruiting circles. And then when they got here, it started right off the bat. I think they were on a scout team for a little while, and then quickly grew to last year. So they've just naturally kind of had a great relationship and understand each other's body language and have a good connection.
Behind Stephen, Jacob Benj, the Lantern.
Yeah, Ryan, just talking about Marcus Freeman in his press conference yesterday. I know Notre Dame's got a lot of Buckeye connections on its coaching staff. Just what's your history with Marcus Freeman and some of the other coaches that have ties to Ohio State?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at both staffs. There are a lot of crossover. We have some Notre Dame folks who are folks that coached at Notre Dame and vice versa. There's guys who are Buckeyes over there or coached here. So, yeah, I mean, it's a small world, and it's kind of unique, but it's exciting, and I think that's we're all competitive and looking forward to play Saturday night.
And Notre Dame as well will start at quarterback, for the first time, similar to maybe your team last year. Just what do you know about Notre Dame's quarterback going into Saturday's game?
Very athletic, very talented, highly recruited. Very talented. Seeing his ability to throw, his ability to run. So, you know, we got to do a good job. We're expecting a high-level play.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, just to follow up on Kyle being there behind CJ in case of injury, obviously you have a couple of guys, him and Devin, what do you feel confident about Kyle in that number 2 spot for this week?
Well, he's been in the program for a couple of years, and Devin's he's right there too. He's working really hard, and you know, as the season goes on, he's got to continue to grow. But you know, going into this first one, Kyle just has a little bit more experience coming into it, understands the offense just a little bit more, has a little bit more under his belt. So you know, we feel like if we need to, that he would be the guy.
For this game, is that something you keep open throughout the year, having both those guys competing for the back?
Well, they're both gonna, you know, things change, but right now it's Kyle, and we'll just keep, you know, see where it goes. Those guys got to show up every day and compete and get better. You know, in Devin's defense, he's only been here for about 7 months, so you know, I think Kyle's ahead of him right now just because of his experience, and we just want to make sure those guys continue to get better. And when they have an opportunity to get in the game, then they got to go prove that they can do it in the game, because one of the hardest things is being a backup quarterback, where you're getting you're getting certain reps in practice, but you're not getting game reps. And so as the season goes on, you know, we'll get to continually evaluate those guys.
A big picture question about the series with Notre Dame. You guys have historically not played a ton in the regular season. This is only the 5th ever meeting to know OSU and Notre Dame. Once home and home in the 90s, home and home in the 30s. Do you have any thoughts on the frequency you would like to play Notre Dame? I know you haven't obviously played this home and home yet, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I don't really have many thoughts on that, no. I mean, it's certainly exciting to be a part of it. You know, not only is it the 100th year anniversary of the shoe, but just the fact that, like you said, it's a special matchup, having Notre Dame, such a, you know, prestigious program in the Midwest, and then Ohio State getting together for a home and home is exciting. And, you know, we saw this on the schedule a couple years back, and here we are.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Row.
What kind of, how many more minutes of sleep do you get a night leading up to this game, knowing you have this starting quarterback back and what he can bring to the table, and where do you see him stepping up headed into this one?
Yeah, it's a different feel from last year. I mean, everything was new last year, so that's different. But there are other challenges. There are other things that are new. So, but knowing that, you know, have somebody who's been through the games before and been through the fire, and that does help, you know. And it isn't about, you know, helping you get any sleep. It's just what can they handle, you know, in terms of putting in the game plan, and you know, things that we can hopefully make game time adjustments with, because there's a Rolodex of plays, you know, that under his belt that we can go back to if we need to. And even just communicating what's going on in game for guys who have been in first games are important, because, you know, there's just on both sides, there's going to be things that we haven't seen, and so we have to be able to make in-game adjustments quickly, and having experience certainly helps in that area.
And how much of a bonus, did you look back on it, was that Rose Bowl? Obviously, they come from behind wind, et cetera, but just getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka involved, Julian Fleming too.
Yeah, I hope
because of what they were replacing, et cetera. As you look back on it now, how invaluable was that?
I hope it was big. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have that experience in that setting, you know, yeah, you'd be even more sleepless nights. But they did. That doesn't mean anything. They still have to go play. But at least there's a reference point there, which is good for them, and hopefully it does pay off.
Third row left, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Ryan, now that he's had basically a full year of playing linebacker, kind of got his feet under, what have you noticed about Steele over the last month in terms of being more comfortable with that position? And I'm wondering if he, you know, flashing differently in camp maybe he did last year.
Yeah, you know, like same thing. Having a year under your belt of playing is important, and I think that room is doing well. I think that they see it from a wider scope, being with Jim every day. You know, in the meetings, they get to see it. They make the calls. So I think, you know, he's one more year veteran, which is again, hopefully pays off on Saturday night. But I think as a group, you know, they all have more experience. Look at Tommy, you look at Cody, you know, look at some of the guys who hadn't really played going into that year when we had to replace all 4 of those linebackers who took the majority of the reps. At least this year's team coming back has more experience in the linebacker room.
When you're playing an opponent that has a former assistant of yours on their defensive staff, do you need to change the way you go about things in terms of signals? Is there any value to having maybe more intimate personnel knowledge that Al might have since he was here on the practice field?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, Al did an unbelievable job when he was here, and he's a good friend of mine, and have nothing but respect for him. So, he'll have those guys charged up, but yeah, certainly, he knows a lot about this program, what we do, so definitely have to be aware of that and change some things up.
Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for spending some time with us. I know you've talked a little bit about the aura around this game. Can you give us an idea at how much you appreciate the tradition of college football and of two programs that may be at the forefront of tradition in the sport?
Yeah, it's hard to probably appreciate right now because there's just so much going on. But when you think about what an opportunity this is for Saturday night, just getting Notre Dame and Ohio State together, first game of the year, 100th year anniversary of the shoe, all of the things combined. What a great opportunity, and that's what college football is all about: is bringing people back and making it special. And this is about our players. And I talked to him the other day about when you grow up and you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you watch a game on TV on Saturday night, and then you wake up the next morning on Sunday and you're playing in the backyard, and all of a sudden you're taking on the personality of guys who you watched the night before. And you can see a couple of them nod, and I said, well, that's going to be you. And I try to remind guys that every year when we play in environments like this. And that's the opportunity that's there. So that's why we got to work so hard this week to be a competitive excellence on Saturday. So working really hard to make sure that we're prepared for this thing.
As a head coach, that led a program through the COVID pandemic and all the unique challenges that you've kind of had year to year, what makes this opener unique for you, this season unique?
I think it's unique. Every year is unique, but what's significant about this year is, again, probably our schedule, bookended by Notre Dame and Team Up North, 8 home games, 100th year anniversary, a little bit more of an experienced crew coming back. So I think those are probably the things that are most noteworthy.
Go deep right, Jeremy Birmingham, rivals.
Right. Obviously, in your 4 years here, you guys generally try to avoid the huge recruiting events during game days, but with the game being at night, does it make it easier, and are you worried about striking a balance between finding time with kids and all their families coming in and just being ready for Saturday night?
Yeah. All the focus is going to be on the game. We have a great recruiting staff that's going to do everything they can to make sure they put on a great show and be great hosts for our recruits, but time will be limited. Maybe after the game on Sunday, then we'll have some time to catch up, but we got to focus on Notre Dame. And yeah, it's great. We have a lot of people flying in from different parts of the country. They play on Friday night, and they're able to come in on Saturday because it's a night game. So this is unique that way. So we do have big numbers. And I say all the time, every time you come to visit, it's a different experience. This one is about watching the atmosphere and watching the game at Ohio State. When they come in the spring or the winter, we get to spend more one-on-one time. That's typically the focus. But this focus is about seeing the environment, watching the atmosphere, and then visualizing yourself on the field playing for the Buckeyes.
With the 20th year anniversary of the 2002 National Championship, a lot of guys coming into town. Do you have anything different playing with Jim Tressel as far as talking to the team or being around the team?
Yeah, so really great to see those guys get recognized. And not only is that national championship team a special team because they won it, but they've had such an impact on Columbus, on Ohio State, and certainly Coach Tressel's had a great impact on me, and he's been a great resource. But it's also all the players, and to see those guys be a part of the game Saturday is going to be important. And I'm glad they're a part of it, and I'm glad they're getting recognized because it is more than just that. And I think it goes to show you, if you become a national championship here at Ohio State, a national championship team at Ohio State, it kind of lives for a long, long time, and it means so much. So great to see those guys recognized. A lot of respect.
Fourth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Right, when you look at this defense, last year you guys rotated a lot of guys because of inexperience. Now Larry says he's got 12 guys he might be able to rotate on the defensive line. The safety room looks like it's got 6 guys. Do you feel more confident in installing a rotation of guys that you can actually play heading into this opener than you did heading to Minnesota when you were platooning guys?
Yeah, I think we know what we have, and I think guys have settled into some stuff. But at the end of the day, in big games, our really good players have to play really good. And, if we're going to play depth at different positions, that's great. Those guys got to play, but our really good players have to play really well. That's kind of how it goes. And it is good to know that we have depth going into the season. And you'll see different guys in the game, but it'll be a lot different than it did starting the season last year.
And then flip the other side of the ball. Harris obviously started last year, but now finally gets the reins at left tackle job. for you as the guy who recruited him, the guy who's seen him develop, how exciting is it just to see him finally be at that spot where everyone expects him to be so good, and then to also be able to go against somebody who's projected to be a first-round pick, and Isaiah? You know, how exciting is that for you to be able to see him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Foskey's a tremendous player, very athletic, like you said, projected first rounder, so it's going to be a huge challenge for him and for DeJuan in this game. And, you know, we got to know exactly where he is at all times. But, yeah, I thought that the key for Paris was that he was willing to go in at guard and get a whole year under his belt. And I think that for a lot of guys, they see themselves, well, I'm just a tackle. And if he had seen himself as just a tackle, then he would go into the season with zero experience really on the field. Maybe a few snaps here and there, but because he was willing to go into guard, he's more prepared to play this season at tackle because of that experience. So I think it goes to who he is as a person.
Third row right, Rob Olive, Columbus Dispatch.
Brian, Tim talked about this earlier. At the end of last year, CJ seemed like there wasn't a lot of room for improvement. You guys, there's always room for improvement, but we didn't think there was much more room. What do you want to see out of him? Where can he improve still?
Well, you know, there's a lot of areas. I think that for the whole offense, you know, we just have to start the season and get going. When you kind of go through the season we went through last year, finished with the Rose Bowl win, you go into the off season, it's a whole different group. We move some pieces around. Some guys move out, some other guys move in. It's just a different personality. And so as the leader of the offense, you have to do everything you can to get your team into the end zone, whatever that looks like. You know, last year we had our certain way we did it. The year before, you know, this year is going to look a little different as well. You know, and so certainly the run game is a huge part of that, and I think he understands that. It's not about, you know, getting the most points or the most yards. It's about winning games, and that's what's important.
And the other thing is, my 93-year-old mother again last night is complaining about why everyone's picking Ohio State #1. They're going to get big heads. That's not good for them. How do you handle that with the team, and do you have a specific person that kind of is in charge of keeping guys from seeing that stuff?
Well, I think coming off of last year, there's no big heads. I mean, this team is hungry. This team has been hungry. It's been gritty, and you know, we got to go win this first game, and they know that. So there's no big heads on this team right now. We got a lot to prove.
Right behind us, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Brian, any opener has unknowns on both sides. You don't have tape from this year, but when you have a game like this, as opposed to some of the openers in the past, how much does that change what you're doing to try and know as much as possible about this Notre Dame team? Yeah,
every year it's the same story. You know, it's a challenge to figure out what changes and adaptations have been made based on the personnel from each side, and in college football, what that means. I think maybe in the NFL, when you're drafting, you know, the system's a system, but when you have new coordinators move in and out, and when you have different players move in and out in graduation, different things, it changes. And so you try to do the best you can to project that, but then in game you have to have a good contingency plan that you can move quickly and adapt and think on your feet.
You talked about Paris and DeJuan, but the offensive line as a whole, we've talked about the depth a lot, but how do you feel about that starting group, and what challenge overall does Notre Dame present with their defensive front?
Well, they play multiple fronts, and they're good. They're strong. They're powerful. They're athletic. The linebackers play hard. They do a good job against the run. But you know, I feel good about where our offensive line is. I think that we've had a really good camp. I think Justin's done a great job with them. But now they've got to go put it on the field, and that's all that really matters. You know, and I think that's just across the board. You know, you go through so much training for just these few opportunities to play, and so now it's time to go to be competitive excellence, and that's what matters the most, is what we do on Saturday night. So I'm excited about what I see, but at the same time, we got to go put it on the field.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, your offensive players have said routinely that the defense is much improved. They haven't got as many big plays, perhaps, during this preseason. Which area of the defense, stopping the run, the pass rush, maybe the secondary with pass defense, which one has maybe made the most improvement out of all those areas, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think when you look at the front, I think that they are certainly creating a lot of disruption up front and getting after the quarterback and, you know, creating problems up front in the run game. The linebackers are much more improved. They're seeing things and diagnosing things faster. But the secondary as well is playing at a pretty high level. So I think across the board, it's just an overall improvement. I think that the guys are playing with more confidence. I think it's probably the combination of guys on that side of the ball with more experience and then embracing a new scheme.
And just curious what the assignments will be for your assistant coaches up, down for this game.
Yeah, I think we've gone back and forth on that. I think on the offensive side, we'll pretty much stay the way we've been, and I think Jim's done it a couple different ways, and we're gonna kind of decide here towards the end of the week what he's gonna do.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Right, even though you have an experienced team, you're playing at home. What's it like for a coach before the first game of the year? Because there's no preseason. You're playing a top opponent. Just kind of your mindset right now.
I think it's just to try to have a great day today, because again, we talk about it all the time. You can plan for the future, but there's nothing you can do about the game yet. All you can do is just have a great day today and focus on the fundamentals, focus on getting better, making sure that everything's clean today in practice. And so, Saturday's going to come and go. How prepared are we going to be when it gets here? And that's really just has to be the focus. Yeah, I can't sit here and tell you that you sleep well at night, because you just don't know. Anytime you have a new team, but there is more experience with this group than last year, so at least you have a reference point. But every year is new, and there's going to be a lot of excitement in this game, and we have to come in and play well.
Do you feel good about where you are as a team? I mean, obviously you don't know what's going to happen Saturday, but do you feel good about the preparation?
I think we've had an excellent preseason. Yeah, I think the attitudes have been excellent. I think the toughness has been excellent. I think their attention to detail, the edge that they've had. This team wants to be good, and they have an edge to them. They feel like they have something to prove, but that doesn't mean anything until you go play the game on Saturday night. So we'll keep working on that and trying to figure out a way to get 1-0.
One more question about Paris Johnson. How has he looked at left tackle? I mean, that is kind of his natural position. How good can he be? How good has he been so far?
He's done really well. He's really improved. Moving from tackle to guard and then guard back to tackle, there's a little bit of an adjustment, but now he's been working well with Justin, and I think he's had his last couple weeks he's been excellent.
Over here to the right, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
This is a playoff caliber matchup to start the season in the shoe at night. You talk about the 100th anniversary. Do you talk to your guys about what Saturday means for college football and how big it's going to be?
I just like what I said yesterday about how the nation will be watching, and you get to be a front and center, and everyone who's watching, and they wake up the next morning, they can be you, and I think that's important, and it's great for them to realize that. But we can't make it bigger than it is either. We got to make sure that we're focused on what really matters. But the guys know. I mean, this has been on the schedule for a while, and just as it gets closer, you start to feel it a little bit more. But we know this was coming, and we've been preparing all summer.
You've got the best view of the defense. Now that you've had a whole offseason, we're 4 days away, how ready is it and how different is it?
Yeah, I mean, still a couple days away, so we're going to keep preparing all the way till 7:29 when the foot hits the ball. But it's time to go play somebody now. I think as much as our guys are doing a great job of being focused, they want to go play a game and hit somebody else, and I think they're tired of practicing. We can't get tired of practicing. We got to keep working, but no, I mean, these guys have been working hard for this moment, and they've done a great job with the installation. They have a great job making adjustments and learning and growing, and now it's game planning Notre Dame. So, I think we're in a great place. We'll see you again Saturday night.
Right next door, Tony Erdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, I think along those same lines, this defense has been a work in progress for the last 8 months. Where's your excitement level, your emotional level to finally see that against the opponent?
Yeah, it's going to be great to see. Just a bunch of guys running around with great energy and great confidence, and that's what this thing's going to be. And that's the way they practiced. Just the whole group in general. If you come out and watch practice, you can see it. It's just there's an energy level to them, a confidence, guys buzzing around, playing fast, playing violent, creating chaos out there, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Way over to the right, Dom Berry, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, as you take the pulse of this club, how ready are they to play a game? And you mentioned the edge these guys have. Will angry team take the field on Saturday? And I don't know, what keeps you up late right now?
Yeah, well, one thing I tell them all the time is when you play in big games, a lot of guys, they just want to get me to the game, get me to the game, get me to the game. Well, it's only Monday, and today is Tuesday. We have a long way to go before we get to that game. So what happens is if it's just get me to the game, you lose focus on that time. We have to be ready to go at 7:30 on Saturday night. So, we're preparing, and we're going to continue to prepare to make sure we're ready right at that moment to play with the mental, physical, and emotional energy that we need. But yeah, I mean, this team certainly, wants to be great, and it's going to start September 3rd.
I mean, you've heard the things. I mean, these guys have talked about it. They heard things that people said about them a year ago and all that. Is there a fire with this team because of some of the comments that were made in the past?
Yeah, but I think when you're at Ohio State, you can't listen to that because they're the same ones that, said things that weren't very good, the same things that are saying that maybe one of the better teams in the country coming into this year. So, when you listen to other people's opinions, you respect them more than your own. So you just have to focus on what really matters and just, kind of distract all the noise and keep it out of the building.
Kind of with that said, though, there's always a big target on you guys. And more so than ever, how hard is it to block and to block all that out? I mean, you're hearing this is a national championship caliber team, this is that and that. I mean, do you guard against that with your kids?
Yeah. I mean, we don't talk about any of those type of things because that's not what the focus is. And the competitive stamina is what we've been talking about because we know that at Ohio State you have to bring it every single week. And in order to get to reach our goals of where we need to be, we have to bring it every day and every game. And so we start looking ahead and lose a day, then we put ourselves at risk. So focusing on the process, focusing on the day, and making sure that we have the stamina that we need to go win this game.
Got time for two more. Over here to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Another question about the defense, maybe kind of looking back, at what point over these past 8 months did you kind of see the impact that Jim was having on the defense? Like it was tangible to you that the change that you wanted, the adjustment that you wanted was happening?
Yeah, I don't know if it was one day, but you could just see it over time building just the confidence of the guys. And they play with a lot of decisiveness. They play with a lot of confidence, and they run to the ball. And when you get that kind of pack mentality, that's when you're starting to build something special on defense. And I don't think it happened one day, but it certainly has happened over time.
And with when you brought him on and he's talking about wanting a safety-driven defense, was there something about Perry that you wanted specifically for that position, or was there something about Perry that you wanted on this staff, regardless of how he was going to fit the position?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think that he, I didn't know Perry very well, but everyone who knew Perry spoke very, very highly of him and certainly saw his work when he was at UC, and then had an opportunity to spend some time with him during the interview process, and I could tell right away that he was special. He does a great job of communicating. He's very, very intelligent, sees things from a wide view, connects well with the players. So certainly somebody that we were very fortunate to have on our staff.
And final question, second row right, Doug Lesmerises, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, just a specific question on a player. Matthew Jones had a couple years here where he was in camp and fighting for a starting job and didn't quite get it. We know how important he was to you guys last year as that sixth offensive lineman, but here he is now as a starter. Just, what was his progression, and what do you think of a guy like that, sort of continuing the fight?
Right, that's it, the fight. Yeah, when I think about Matt, that's what I think about. And not to put his stuff out there, but he got in front of the team during a team meeting and kind of shared his experiences of what the brotherhood means to him, and it was really powerful because Matt is a man of few words, but he kept coming every single day, and part of this game is showing up every day. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe would have transferred, maybe would have gone another direction, maybe would have lost hope, but he didn't. He just keep putting one day in front of the other, and now he's got an opportunity to have a great season this year and be a starter at Ohio State. So I'm very proud of Matt and the journey that he's been on.
And a lot of people are very connected to their alma mater throughout their lives, right? When you're in this business, you're a college football player, it was very important to you, but now you're in college football. You're not a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job. How do you stay connected to your alma mater? Do you pay attention? What are your feelings when you're in the business of college football? What is your relationship like with the place where you attended and you played college football?
Yeah, I mean it's a part of your life, and this profession is funny, in a different way. when I grew up, I used to watch the New England Patriots, and then I was coaching for the Philadelphia Eagles and went into Foxborough and played against Brady and Belichick, and I felt like I didn't know if I should cheer for the Patriots or try to beat them. And it's just this world is a small world, and you certainly being part of the University of New Hampshire for me was a big part of my life, and certainly it catapulted me into my career, and so that's been very important to me. But I think for everybody it is, and it's a part of their life. Yeah.
And not a joke question. Would you like to see UNH come into the shoe and play you guys some year?
Oh, geez. I don't know. That's a good. I haven't never considered that, but yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, no problem. See you guys. Thanks.